Well, hello again, and Baselworld 2017 has been and gone, and it seems like everybody and his dog has made a video about it on YouTube, as you can see. So why not do the same thing? But since Barney over there is a bit tired out today, it looks like I'll have to do the YouTube video on my own. So let's get started. And wristwatch check, I'm currently wearing my Zenith Pilot chronograph. As for Barney here, he doesn't really need a watch, he just knows when it's dinner time. And my last watch video that I made before Baselworld predicted that some new models would come out a lot cheaper, or at least a little bit cheaper, than the current range. And so let's go and see if I was right about that. And so let's start off with the elephant in the room, which is Rolex. And so here we are on the Rolex Instagram page. And the first model I want to look at is the new Sky Dweller in stainless steel with a white gold bezel. Now that model is coming out in the UK for about £10,000, which for Rolex is a hell of a bargain, because previously that was only available in a precious metal, and that came out at about £25,000 to £30,000. And if I'd recently gone out and bought a solid white gold Sky Dweller, I would be a bit peed off, because now you can get a stainless steel version a third of the price, which looks pretty much identical. In fact, for me, it actually looks better because that blue dial looks fantastic. And I must say, to get an annual calendar with a second time zone watch from Rolex for 10 grand, it's a bit of a bargain. And for me, this new Sky Dweller in stainless steel is the pick of the bunch this year from Rolex. I think it will be a great seller, a big seller, particularly compared to the old version, which was only available in precious metal. I mean, at £30,000, I can't see that ever selling that many, but at £10,000 in stainless steel, I think it's going to be a big seller for Rolex. And next up is no great surprise, it's the new 41mm Datejust. And that's no surprise because last year this model came out in stainless steel and gold. So it's quite common for Rolex to then roll out the stainless steel version a year or two later. What is interesting though about this watch is, for the first time, it's available on a Jubilee bracelet in stainless steel only, and that's something that's not happened before. And again, I think that's just a little indication that they're trying to keep the price down by offering things that they've not offered in the past. And it certainly looks a lot better than the previous bloated Datejust 2, which for me wasn't quite right. And I think they corrected those problems with the Datejust 41mm, and I think it will now be a great seller. And next up we have the Rolex Daytona. Again, no great surprise in that they fitted the ceramic bezel to this particular gold model, but what is a surprise is they've fitted the Oyster Flex rubber bracelet to it. And I can't see why they did that, because of all the models I can think of from Rolex, the last one I'd fit a rubber bracelet to is a Daytona, but they've done it and I'm sure it'll sell quite well. But I do have a suspicion that perhaps they fitted that Oyster Flex rubber strap to the gold Daytona to bring down the price. But even with this rubber strap, it's still a £20,000 watch, which for me, even though it's a Daytona, it does feel a little bit too much. Oh, sorry about that, the dog's just started to snore. So moving on then, let's now look at JLC. And the big news this year from JLC are their new sector dial models, of which there are three. There's a simple three-hander with a date here, there's also a dual time model and a bi-compax chronograph. But what's interesting about these new models is they're cheaper than the existing models, which are very, very similar. Here we can see on the top row the new sector dial model at £4,800, and over here pretty much the same model with a different dial, which is £5,150. Now £350 at this level isn't a huge amount, and yet it still represents a reduction of around 5 or 6% on a brand new model, which is quite unusual these days. And if we compare the new geographic sector dial version to the original down here, that's a difference there of £900, which is quite significant. And now admittedly the new version does without a date and a power reserve, but nevertheless that's still quite a significant difference in price. And it's a similar story when we look at the new bi-compact chronograph in comparison to the existing tri-compact chronograph, which comes in at £7,250 compared to £6,700 for the new model. And again, you do lose something in that you're losing a date, and of course it's the bi-compacts rather than the tri-compacts, and yet overall it's pretty much the same watch. It's got the same movement, the same case, the same sort of strap, and from the point of view of JLC, I suspect the cost of manufacture is almost the same, and yet here we are with a cheaper model in 2017. And so now moving on to the new models from Omega, I must say I was disappointed. It just seems like they're retreading their old steps, they're bringing out retro models or limited edition models from 1957, which for me holds very little interest. In fact, I'm not a great fan of Omega, even though I do own a Speedmaster FOIS. The rest of the range doesn't really have much appeal to me. And overall this year it just seemed like Omega are just treading water. They seem to be bringing out yet more special editions and limited editions from retro models from years gone by. Not really much appeal to me. Even the new models like this, the Planet Ocean Big Blue, it's just too thick, too expensive, and really has no appeal to me, although I'm sure it must appeal to somebody out there. And so overall, when it comes to Omega, I can't see any reduction of prices, I can't see any great new models, new great technology. It just seems like they're recycling their old models over and over again. More special editions, more limited editions, more higher prices. And so for me this year, the new Omega models have been a bit of a letdown. Anyway, moving on. So moving on then, let's look at Zenith, one of my favourite manufacturers, and see what they've been up to. Yeah, all the usual boring stuff, lady stuff. They're coming out now with a bronze edition of the retro looking pilots and so on. But what's caught all the attention this year has been the new Defy El Primero 21 with a chronograph that can run to a hundredth of a second. Pretty impressive. But this watch is not only impressive technically, it's also impressive in the price it's going to sell for, i.e. around 10,000 Swiss francs, which is pretty amazing for such a high-tech watch. If that was something like a Hublot, which is part of the same group, it would probably sell for over 20,000 Swiss francs. And from what I can see online, it seems that Zenith have got a lot of new stuff coming out over the next year or two, so it's going to be very interesting to see how they get on. And although I'm a big Zenith fan, I'm not too keen on the style overall, particularly of the case. But I'll be looking forward to see what Zenith can do in the next year or two, and I'm sure we can see some great things from Zenith. But again, what's important is they're bringing out that fantastic watch at such a low price point. And so let's hope that Zenith, along with the rest of the Swiss watch industry, can keep on going, keep on innovating, and keep prices contained, and let's see what happens in the next year or two. And certainly now I think it's very, very clear that the days of price increases of 5, 10, 15, 20% annually, year on year and year, are well and truly over. And it's about time that the watch industry in Switzerland pull their finger out and start giving us what we want, which is to say, great watches, great innovation, fantastic quality at a fair price. And if they keep doing that, I'm sure they'll have a bright future. But we'll have to wait and see. So anyway, thanks for watching and cheers.